President Trump ending trade negotiations with Canada.
He says he's terminating the talks over a tax on technology firms like Meta and Amazon.
They put a tax on companies that were American companies that they shouldn't, a very severe tax. I guess they could remove it. They will, but I don't really, it doesn't matter to me. We have all the cards. It's not going to work out well for Canada. They were foolish to do it. And so I said, we're going to stop all negotiations with Canada right now until they straighten out their act.
Let's bring in Kevin O'Leary, a Canadian and chairman of O'Leary Ventures. Man, I love this dude so much because he's smart, he's funny, and he's pithy. And I don't mind just saying it. This is, I don't know, we kind of knew this was going to happen, but I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Is this a tempest in a teapot?
You know, this policy actually was introduced by the previous administration in Canada, the idiot king, Justin Trudeau. It was bad policy then, and it's bad policy now. But Carney, the new prime minister, that Trudeau was thrown out after he impoverished 25% of the Canadian population, wiped out GDP, buried the country in debt, because of one policy called Bill C-69, which doesn't allow development of any energy, anything at all. It's a no pipeline bill. So revenues collapsed in Canada during his 10-year reign. And now Carney has no income. There's no growth in income at all. So he's trying to find any way he can to make income. This is worth $7 billion to the Canadian economy. But obviously, it's not going to work out the way he planned. Now, he may be just testing it, but he doesn't have a lot of options because Canada's economy has been wiped out by the idiot king, and he's got to fix it. And so at the end of the day, this is just another aspect of the negotiation. But I will add one thing. The original vision of this, way back 7 months ago, was why don't we somehow combine these two economies, not sell the country, but Canada has all the raw resources, the unlimited nat gas, unlimited oil, unlimited rare earth, unlimited minerals, and the U.S. is the largest market. Yeah. So what are we, all idiots? Why do we have tariffs in either direction? There should be no tariffs whatsoever. Exactly. We should bulk up and then fight off the Chinese.
You know, my favorite thing that's happened out of Canada recently was when the No Kings protests spread to Canada, and then Canada remembered that they have a monarchy, so they had to change it to the No Tyrants holiday. Hilarious. But, you know, obviously the Trump administration, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent also has called out the new tax on digital services that Canada has levied, is going to levy on U.S. companies. Watch this.
Canada has this digital services tax, and several other countries do too. We disagree, and we think that they discriminate against U.S. companies. This was something from the Trudeau years, so we were hoping as a sign of goodwill that the new Carney administration would at least put a break on that during the trade talks. They seem not to have.
Real quick, how does that end?
Well, Carney's pragmatic. There's no question about that. He obviously tested the waters with this. He got a very vicious reaction from Trump. And now he's probably thinking it through the weekend, deciding what to do next, because he definitely wants to get a trade deal done and start to normalize relationships between Canada and the U.S. It's in both sides' benefit. But if this is going to be the sticking point, it's not worth fighting for this, because it is a tariff on tech companies the same way Europe did it. And the majority of tech that's used in Canada comes from the U.S. It always has. And so I don't think this is a winning strategy for Carney. But as I say, there's a lot of optimism around him because he is not the idiot king. He's a lot more pragmatic.
Well, let's see if he is. We definitely have a new president, so that might help in the negotiations as well, because he's good at that art of a deal. Let's look at this, because in New York City, developers are freaking out over Membani's sudden rise. They're worried that he might win. They're looking at ways to, band together to maybe look for an alternative candidate. Explain why developers are so worried about this socialist winning.
I'm a developer. Let me explain why. Long-term capital. We need stability on policy desperately. New York has been a mess for years now in terms of putting large amounts of capital in the ground because the policy keeps shifting. Here's another evidence of it again. This is around rent control. So if you're building multifamily, which New York desperately needs, and you're never going to be able to increase rents, the economics of the projects don't work. I always tell people this about the competition of states. You don't have to invest in New York. You don't have to live there. You don't have to pay taxes there. Right. And that's why Tennessee, Florida, Texas, and many other states like North Dakota, South Dakota, the capital's going there because of the policy. It's not about politics when it comes to putting capital to work. It's about policy. This is bad, un-American policy. America is about the American dream. New York is turning it into the American nightmare. Everybody understands that, and it's got to get fixed. This is bad, bad, bad policy.
The great Kevin O'Leary, O'Leary Ventures, and my favorite shark. Kevin, thank you for your time. Have a great weekend.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Take
Kevin.
care.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.